Hello everyone. Today's poem is Wu Ti by Li Shangyin. Wu Ti, Untitled. So this is one of the poem titles famous starting from Li Shangyin, as he wrote a lot of poems as Untitled. The following sentence, 相见时难别亦难, is the first sentence in this poem to distinguish his so many untitled poems. Otherwise, when you talk about the most famous poems by Li Shangyin, untitled, the people would never know which poems actually you are referring to. So from the untitled title, we can also feel a little about the characteristics of the poet Li Shangyin himself. He was a little bit depressed, and he covered himself very carefully. And anyhow, in his deep mind, he was a man with full of feelings and thoughts. So that's a big conflict, the personal, the characteristic conflict of himself. We can see all these characteristics through his poems. And for this particular poem, it was written when he was roughly between 15 to 18. He was sent to the Taoist temple to practice Taoism. So in the previous poem we have shared, he was with the royal blood. The Tang royal family, they appreciate the Taoism rather than Buddhism, and they think the most famous figure in the Taoism, Lao Tzu, is also one of the ancestors of the royal family of the Tang dynasty. They share the same family name, Li. So that's could be the main reason his family sent him to the Taoist temple to practice the Taoism in his teenage. And also the mountain is a very famous Taoist place, Wangshan, or particularly Yuyangshan. Wangshan has several small mountains. Yuyangshan was one of them. So normally today's people we will call all those mountains in that area just aside of the Yellow River as Wangshan. If you are fond of the Chairman Mao's articles, you can also read one of the very, very famous articles by Chairman Mao, 愚公移山. So it tells a sort of the old story, history stories, or sort of the fairy tales happened in this place, Wangshan. So this is a very famous place in the Tang dynasty. Even the royal families, I know some of the very famous royal princess, they went this mountain to practice the Taoism. So at this place, the poet Li Shangyin encountered a girl he loved. And that girl was also in one of the Taoist temples. So they are not far from, and they are in the same areas. But anyhow, this love cannot have a result. So that's also another conflict in the Li Shangyin's life. So this poet is a man of conflict. His political goals is conflict with the declining Tang dynasty. So he wants to do something big, but the political is so corrupted at the late Tang period, and he was so loyal to the love. He always stayed just one girl at a time, and even when he married, his wife passed in his 40s, maybe not in his 40s. He refused to have another marriage. So that's not that's very, very rare in the Tang dynasty. In the Tang dynasty, the famous poet, they would like to go to the entertainment places to have entertainments with the bar girls, bartenders, the dancers, the singers. Also, if they have enough money, they also buy some singers, dancers to their home, just like their second, third, or fifth wife. So most of the famous Tang poets, they live their lives that way. So Li Shangyin is the unique person that he stuck to one girl at a time. He wrote many poems about this period of love with the girl, who actually is a female Taoist monk, and the two Taoist monks in love. So that's basically is the background for this poem. And also, we don't know why, but we know from many poems, they both know this love will end it with nothing. Okay, let's talk about the poem now. 无题，李商隐。相见时难别亦难，东风无力百花残。春蚕到死丝方尽，蜡炬成灰泪始干。晓镜但愁云鬓改，夜吟应觉月光寒。蓬山此去无多路，青鸟殷勤为探看。相见时难别亦难。To meet with each other is difficult and hard, and departing is also difficult and hard. So from this sentence we know the two has departed for some reason, because if they don't depart it, how could the poet say it's so hard to depart? You know it. 东风无力百花残. The east wind is getting weaker and weaker, and the 100 cans of flowers is dying, decaying. So this is talking to the time. It's the late spring. The east wind is almost over, and the flower is dying. And also this reflects something. So we can see it in the the following sentences. 春蚕到死丝方尽. The silkworm spitting the silk until he died. The silk has the same pronunciation as thinking about in Mandarin. So it's with the same spelling, 丝. So here it's a tradition for Chinese to use the silk to alternatively to speak of thinking of others. So this is one of the indirect expressions to express love about thinking to each other. So here he write the 丝方尽 means the thinking will be finally over until someone died, just like the silkworm. So that's this is very normal comparison in Chinese or alternative expression in Chinese. 蜡炬成灰泪始干. So the same thing. The candle is dropping the tears. So when the candle is burning, some of the candle drops, it becomes liquid and drops along the candles down. So that was called as teardrops by Chinese as well. So this also is a very typical Chinese comparison to teardrops. So whenever the Chinese talk about 蜡炬 or 烛泪, so it's about the teardrops of a human, not the candles. So he just used the candle as dropping the candle drops as the human's teardrops. So this whole sentence, the meaning is the candle will burn down itself to ashes finally, and at that time the teardrops ended, dry out. So he just extended the very traditional words or traditional image to a very to a procedure or to the lifelong procedure. So normally a lot of the classic poems will quote it, the silkworm and the candle, the drop of the candle, just by words, but he used two sentences to describe the whole procedure, and also it's make the meaning more profound and more with more meaningful things. Because when you think about the silkworm or the silk, okay, it's equivalent to love someone, to think about someone. But when you think about the silkworm is spitting the silk very hard, and he spit the silk, and finally you're seeing he's dying, and finally he didn't spit the silk at all, and the silkworm dies, just like the love or the person dies. So with this creative description of the whole procedure, Li Shangyin totally changed the image of the silkworm and silk in the Chinese mind. So that's a very, very long, hard job, a lifetime things. The love is for lifetime, and it's always hard. And until someone died, the love dies also. It's same thing with the teardrop of the candle. It extended the meanings to such a level, so profound, with so many meaningful things. You see the candle is burning, it's bright. It just simulates that someone is crying. But when you think about the candle has burned down to a pile of ashes, there's no candle at all. And finally, you just realize the teardrops has gone or has dry out. So the genius of Li Shangyin is he changed the simple image in a Chinese mind to a lifelong story, and also you also feel the ending of something. That's always the most sadness, the utmost sadness for human beings. 晓镜但愁云鬓改. So from this sentence, we know the poet Li Shangyin was writing from a woman's angle. So he presented himself as a woman or as the one he loved. And that girl is thinking all the time about him, about Li Shangyin. So the girl, in the morning, he looked into the mirrors and he feels so worried about his outlook. The yunbin is the hair, the very beautiful thick hair of women, and normally yunbin just refers to the outlook of the woman. So in the morning when the girl looked into the mirrors, he was so worried. His outlook is totally changed. The hair may be turned to a little bit gray, and her face lose the color and don't beautiful anymore. 夜吟应觉月光寒. In the night, when he read the letters, poems, or sing a song with very low voice, yin means with very low voice, he felt the cold and the coldness of the moonlight. So this also is a very indirect way to express the girl feel loneliness and feel cold, feel sadness, and also the moon is always associated with the sinking to each other, and also the second meaning of the moon is the time passing by. As we know, the girl was a Taoist monk, so another possibility is she is practicing his Taoism to reading some of the Taoist book in the night. So that's the routine work or routine job for the Taoist monk. 蓬山此去无多路，青鸟殷勤为探看. Pongshan is a fairyland, a mountain in the East Sea of China, and that's also the place for the Taoist people. So here, the poet borrowed the term Pongshan to refer the place where he stayed, or the girl stayed. Be careful, even I talking, the poet is writing this and writing that. He's talking this way, he's talking that way. The whole poem, actually, the poet is pretending he was the girl. So the girl was writing this poem, and all the thinking and the thoughts is by that girl he loved. 蓬山此去无多路. So we are in the same mountains, in the same fairyland of the Taoism, in Wangwushan. We are not far apart. 无多路, the distance is not too much. 青鸟殷勤为探看. So we should look this pair of sentences together. The first sentence, we are not far apart, but something the poet didn't mention. We need to taste it out by ourselves. Even the distance is not far apart, they cannot meet each other. The first thing first, we should check back to the first sentences. 相见时难别亦难. So that means they have departed. That not because of the distance, it's by some reason. They have departed, so they cannot meet each other again anymore, maybe in the lifelong time. So here we know that even they are still in the same mountain, they are not far apart, they cannot meet each other. So the last sentences explain the wishes of the girl, or the poet himself. He's pretending he was writing the poem from that girl's angle. 青鸟, the jade bluebird, will be very busy going forth and back and look for each other. So here, the 青鸟 is the bird of a fair lady, 王母娘娘. So the 青鸟 is the messenger for the fair lady 王母娘娘. So we in Chinese we always use 青鸟 to refer the letters. And also we have another term 双鲤鱼 or 鲤鱼 that also refers the letters. So whenever you see the term 青鸟鲤鱼双鲤鱼, it always refers to the letters. From the above, we know the two cannot meet each other for the moment, or maybe for a long run. So the girl said, let the blue bird busily, frequently, to visit you, to look to you on her behalf. So that means I will write to you very, very frequently, a letter a day, 2 letters a day. And that's my thinking of you. As a teenager, this poem showed so many creativity and talent by Li Shangyin. At the very beginning, we take this poem as a departing poem. Something about departing, that's a big category of poems in Tang dynasty. And then from 3rd and 4th sentence, we know this poem is a love poem. And we know in the Tang dynasty, especially before Li Shangyin's time, there's no such a type of poem, love poems. But because Li Shangyin wrote so many love poems, so famous, gradually more and more people write poems on love. So the love poems became a big category after Li Shangyin. So he could be treated as the founder for the love poems for Chinese. And then when we continue our reading in the 5th and 7th sentence, wow, it's a 归怨诗, so the woman complaining poem. So that's a big category in the classic Chinese poetry, which means the poet, basically they are all males. They pretend to be a woman, a girl, to write about something. Normally it's complaining, and most probably is complaining about the political, complaining about the emperor, because in the ancient China, the women, the wife, serve her husband is just almost like the officers serve the emperor. They serve the one person, and that one person has the full power and full control of the officer, or the husband has a control of the wife. So a lot of poems, that's a big chunk of poetry, classic poetry. A lot of poets, when they don't feeling good, so they will write this type of women complaining poems, 归怨诗. But here, even the Li Shangyin pretend as a woman, a girl, to write something. He's not complaining about something. He keep focus on love. So basically, there is still a love poems. Let's review the first and second sentences again. 相见时难别亦难 东风无力百花残. So this is also creative. Normally, the Chinese poetry will start it with writing about the scenic views, something around. So that writing technique was so-called 兴. So he's writing about the beautiful flowers, rivers, mountains in the first sentence. And then in the second sentence, he may get to the point he wants to talk about. But in this poem, we can see the poet Li Shangyin go to the point directly, and with one character repeated, 难. To meet each other is so hard, is 难. To departing is also hard and difficult. The second, 难. So that strengthened the feelings so much. And also this is going to the point in the first sentence. And the second sentence actually is writing something around the wills, the weathers, or whatsoever. The east wind is powerless, is fading, and all the flowers is dropping down, is fading. So he actually violated the very basic writing rules of the Chinese classic poetry. Doesn't matter. People like that. So that's the creativity, and that's why Li Shangyin was still so famous after 1,000 years. He created something new and people like it. Even in his time, the poetry almost got so mature. All the types, all the rules are defined. He can still try to find somewhere something to break it and make something great. This writing technique was also employed in another very famous poem by Li Shangyin, 夜语寄北。君问归期未有期，巴山夜雨涨秋池。So how do you feel it? And also let's look at the most famous sentence, the third and fourth sentence. It's so popular even in today's language. 春蚕到死丝方尽，蜡炬成灰泪始干. So it gave the very normal, very popular words, the silkworm, the candle, with such a deep, profound meaning. Before Li Shangyin, so many articles, poems has used these two images, the silkworm, the candles. Anyhow, after this poem, nobody can never go beyond Li Shangyin, and we just quote Li Shangyin today. You cannot go beyond with these two images. You cannot give more meanings to the images of silkworm and candle. And that's Li Shangyin. So that's the greatness of Li Shangyin. And also we can also feel a little bit different in this poem because he gave the hope in the last sentence. He has a way to go on. Even the two was separated. They cannot meet each other. But in his deep mind, he still tried to figure out a way to go ahead, to let the blue bird go frequently to visit you on behalf of me. 青鸟殷勤为探看. So that's youth, that's teenagers. And in the late period of Li Shangyin, the poem is totally different. The sadness is from the beginning, and the sadness goes to the very end. Okay, that's for today, and bye-bye.